This is Thank You Mama weekly lessons from mothers all around the world. I'd like to tell you a little secret about writing books. When you are a writer, writing the first book is easy. You are bursting with things to say, truths you have been accumulating for years, and once you start, it just pours out of you and onto the page. And if you're a writer, this process gives you incredible joy. You're in spiritual bliss, absolute zen while writing. And no, I do not believe in writing being a torture. If it is a torture for you, don't do it. You are not a writer. But then the second book, or the third, or the fourth are really the tricky ones, especially if the previous books were published, and even more so if they were a success, because now you write for an audience. Now there are expectations. And the worst expectations are the ones you have from yourself. And this is what I am struggling with right now. With 200 incredible interviews filled with the most amazing life stories and life lessons from mothers from all over the world, from Nepal to Palestine to Sri Lanka to Brazil, this podcast is absolutely ready to become a book. And I've been planning to write this book for a while now. I moved the podcast to the seasonal format to free up the time. I've created transcripts from all episodes. I wrote an outline. I even started writing a few times. And somehow I always found a reason to stop. I am suffering from a very, very serious imposter syndrome. And that's because I have so much love and so much reverence towards this material, towards not only my incredible guests and their mothers, but also towards you, my listeners, and all my future readers, that I absolutely lose or don't have the confidence that I am able to do it justice. But after today's interview, I have no more excuses. Because as you will hear at the end of the interview, I was commanded by none other than Isabel Allende to start now. Because, as she said, it's going to be a beautiful book. Isabel gave me a ton of encouragement and a little mini course in creative writing, which I am very happy to be sharing with you. And with this incredible heartfelt encouragement by the queen of contemporary storytelling, what else can I do but start writing? Hello and welcome to Thank You Mama. My name is Anna Teider, and today I am deeply, deeply honored to welcome one of the greatest storytellers of our time, Isabel Allende. Isabel is one of the most widely read authors in the world. She is the author of more than 30 books, including The House of the Spirits, Eva Luna, Paula, Daughter of Fortune, and The Soul of a Woman. Her next book, Storytelling, is arriving in September, and I personally just can't wait for it. Her work has been sold more than 80 million copies worldwide, been translated into more than 40 languages, and appeared on bestseller lists around the world. Isabel has received some of the highest honors a writer can receive, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom, Chile's National Literature Prize, Pan America's Lifetime Achievement Award, and the National Book Foundation's Medal for Distinguished Contribution to American Letters. In the honor of her daughter Paula, Isabel created the Isabel Allende Foundation, which is promoting rights, protection, and empowerment of women and girls. And today we meet Isabel not only as a literary icon, but also as a daughter, a granddaughter, a mother, and a lifelong advocate for women. Isabel, welcome. It's such a joy and such an honor to have you here.
Thank you. It's my honor. Thank you.
Let's start with you, Isabel. You are such a big literary star. I'm not sure we need to introduce you, but talk more about your life. But let's do. For those who maybe don't know so much, you have such a empowering and inspiring story. Would you please tell me shortly about how you came to writing? How did all of this happen?
I was born in 1942 in a conservative Catholic family in the deep south of the world in Chile. So my life was supposed to be very limited. I belonged to a social class where women didn't work, really. But my father abandoned the family very early, so I ended up being brought up in the house of my grandfather with my mother, who had 3 kids, very young and very dependent in every way. So my childhood was not a very happy one. My mother eventually married a diplomat. We started traveling, so I was always displaced, changing schools, changing countries, abandoning friends, pets, until we finally went back to Chile. I married very young, had 2 kids immediately.
Isabel, excuse me for interrupting you, but what was very young?
20.
Mm-hmm.
I had just turned 20 when I got married.
That's young.
That's young.
Yeah.
And then I had my kids that were wonderful. And I did some work as a secretary, but eventually I ended up working as a journalist in a women's magazine. And that was one of the most important things that happened in my life, because it gave me a voice. I was an angry teenager and an angry woman because I felt that life was so unfair to women. And I could see my mother, like she couldn't, because she couldn't work, she depended, and that made her life incredibly small. And she was so talented, so brilliant. And none of that could be really expanded because of the limitations that society imposed on her. But then, when I started working as a feminist, I realized that being angry was useless. I had to transform that anger into action. And I was inspired by the great writers of England and the United States, the women that were writing about feminism. I realized that there was a movement out there. I wasn't alone. And I was working with 3 other young women we were in our 20s, but we really challenged the society. The magazine has become in history an icon in journalism in Chile because we really made huge changes. And that was my life and a wonderful time. And then we had a military coup. I had to leave my country, go into exile in Venezuela. That was a very... I cannot say it was a dark time, because Venezuela was a very generous and open country that accepted immigrants from all over the world. But it was a time when nothing good happened to me. And I was going to turn 40. I had not done anything with my life. Everything that I had done in Chile as a journalist was useless in Venezuela, because I had no connections, and whatever I did didn't matter. So eventually I wrote my first novel, The House of the Spirits, that became a huge success in Europe. I was living in Venezuela. I wasn't even aware of the success of the book until a year later.
But let's just mention that the book was rejected in South America. and it got published in Spain.
Yes.
So this is also important if there are any young writers out there to not give up. You never know. You get rejected, but then somebody else accepts it and you can turn into next Isabel Allende.
I know writers that have collected the rejection letters. So they some of them have framed them. So life is all about getting over the rejections in every
Exactly.
way. But I have to admit that I was extremely lucky, because without the success of the House of the Spirits, I would have never become a writer. It was very difficult at the time for a woman also. In South America, it was difficult. So that book paved the way for all the other books and changed my life. Eventually, I left Venezuela, became an immigrant in the United States because I fell in love with a guy, an American. So I moved here to California, and I have lived here since 1988.
And wrote all of your many, many books.
I wrote 2 of my books in Venezuela and all the rest here.
Yeah. Isabel, I want to ask you something because I'll be turning 52 in a few days. And I'm noticing with myself, as I've noticed with my mother, who was a real 1968 flower child. Let's change the world. We can make this world a better place, and all for women. And, and then I watched her age and watched her maybe anger or rebellion mellow. And this is what I've noticed with myself. In my 30s, when I started writing, I was out there writing against capitalism and new forms of a system and what we as women need and should be doing and so on. A very angry person. But with age, I see myself mellowing down as well. Do you notice that? Would you say this is normal, something normal that happens with women? And do we have a different form of power to change the world when we get older than anger?
I have noticed that as women age, they become more liberated and they become more free and stronger. And the anger that we had as a young women is the foundation for what we will do later. So that anger is really important. That time when we are passionate and we want to change everything and we are so angry at the patriarchy, and then we realize that anger can be turned into action, into service, and our life gets better. And when you are as old as I will be 84 in August, then you have less energy. I know that I have less energy and I have very little time left. So I have to really focus on the things that are essential. I can't spend time or energy in what will not make any difference in the world. That's why I write and I work through my foundation with very specific things. Before, it was all over the place. My action was all over the place. Now it's focused. And I think that not only in the work we do and how we think and how we are in the world, but internally also. As a human being, I'm more focused on what is essential. And the rest, I can't deal with it.
But also, do you think that we turn our anger, hopefully, into modeling more than fighting? Hopefully, we turn into modeling how women can be in this world.
I don't see myself as a model.
You don't?
No, I see myself as just one more soldier out there in this war.
But that's also a model.
Well, it's you say modeling. We raise our kids. The way we raise our kids is essential. Women, if we were connected, informed, and aware, we would raise our kids differently, and we would change the world in one generation. So women like you,
How?
and because we would raise the men to be feminists also, and work with women to replace the patriarchy by a more just, fair, sustainable society. But that has to be done by the young, men and women. It's not only women. Women fighting against the patriarchy alone has not worked. We
Yes.
have done a lot of change. We have obtained marvelous things that we never thought we could get. But still, much has to be done. And that cannot be done by women alone. It has to be done by men and women. Which kind of men? No toxic masculinity, not what Trump is supporting right now. A different kind of people that your son and my son are. But because we raise them like that. Now, we need all women to do that with our kids.
I absolutely agree with you, Isabel. And this is what I'm trying with my son. I unfortunately do not also have a daughter, but I decided I am raising my son for his future wife and for his future daughter. And I'm raising my son, exactly as you say, as a feminist. And I want him to recognize what women bring to the world, and that this is just as important, if not even more important, than what men bring to the table.
Well, my son was raised by me and by my daughter, because Paula was 3 years older than him, and she was like a mother, and she was fierce. So, so my son and my daughter-in-law together run my foundation.
Yeah.
And the mission of my foundation is empowerment of women. So my son works in that field. And I'm so proud that I raised him to be the man that he is. And let me tell you, he's totally male. There's nothing not male about him.
Yes. Just as just as strong women can be totally female.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes. Will you tell me a little more about Paula, because she is such an important part of your mother, daughter, grandmother story and lessons passed on?
Well, Paula was my firstborn. She was very smart, very cerebral, very a good person that I think in her soul, maybe she knew she was not going to live long because she wasn't attached to anything material. She always dressed with blue jeans and a white linen shirt, and she had 3 pieces of clothes in her closet. She didn't want anything. She would give away everything. And being so smart and such a good student and all that, she was emotionally very vulnerable. Emotionally, she needed a lot of love and petting. And so she fell in love with a man who could give her that warm, he was like a bear, and he could give her that emotional support that she needed so strongly. She was also the first grandchild. So the 4 grandparents really spoiled her rotten, and they adored her. So she grew up very loved, and she needed a lot of love. She died very young. I mean, she died when she was 29, but she really died at 28 when she fell in a coma. And the rest was just time that she was in this world, but she wasn't really living.
Yeah.
And because I was telling you that she gave away everything. Her mantra was, what is the most generous thing that you can do? Any question you can answer with that, like that. When any question in the world that you have, you ask yourself, what is the most generous thing I can do in this case? And it usually works. So when she died, and I wrote a book called Paula, I decided that part of my income would go to honor her. And I created a small foundation, a family foundation at the time, to do the work, prolong the work that she was doing in the world. And then eventually my daughter-in-law walked into my life. She's a wonderful human being. And she took the foundation. By then, I had written many, many more books, so there was much more money for the endowment. And my daughter-in-law has run the foundation for 27 years with a mission and incredible work. So I feel that Paula is honored.
Do you have any examples or anything you're proud of that the foundation has achieved or done?
Oof.
Just to give us a picture, just to enjoy the success of Paula's foundation.
Look, we support organizations and programs that already exist. So we don't work with individuals. But to give you an example, one of the first projects for refugees that we supported was this young kid that had imagined a foundation for refugees because he was in Congo and he participated in something, saving some refugees. And he said, I'm going to dedicate my life to this. He's called Sasha Shanov. And now that foundation that we started supporting more than 20 years ago has saved 150,000 people.
Well, that's an example. Thank you, Isabel.
Yeah. That's one of them. It's not my credit because many other people have helped, and he does the work. But I feel so proud to be connected to these people.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Let's talk about Mama. We already learned a little bit about her. Will you tell me a little more about her life?
She was born in a social class at a time in 1920. Can you imagine? When women of her condition were supposed to be taken care of by the father and later the husband, and eventually the children if she became a widow. She was particularly beautiful and married the wrong man, that my grandparents didn't want her to get married so young and to this guy in particular. But she did because she was passionate and beautiful and had nothing to lose, I suppose. It was a disaster. In 4 years, she had 3 kids. The husband abandoned her in Peru with 3 babies, 2 of them in diapers, and the other one had not been born yet. He was born after he left. My brother Juan was born premature at home. And my mother was totally dependent, very young, with 3 kids. What could she do? She returned to live with her parents. So I was brought up with my grandparents. And my mother, because she was so gorgeous, had many suitors, men that were after her. But very few would have, first of all, there was no divorce in Chile. So very few would have taken care of her and 3 kids. She fell in love with my stepfather, who was married and had 4 children of his own. So the relationship was almost impossible. It took years for them to be able to start living together, and my stepfather took care of his kids with his first wife and my mother's 3 kids. So we traveled with him all over. And my mother was a talented painter, an artist. And she could have been a very good artist, but she was lazy. She didn't put the effort. And my lesson in life has been that whatever you want to achieve, you have to put effort in and discipline into it. And so my mother could copy from other painters and could create very limited, shy paintings that were very pleasant, but were not real art. And so one of the things that we talked about innumerable times in her older age was how she regretted that she didn't invest the effort and the time in the thing that God had given her as a talent.
But Isabel, can I interrupt you and ask you? You said she was she lazy? Did you recognize this as was laziness, or was she very busy? Did she not have the chance? Did she? You know what I'm asking? Many women with so many children are too busy to put effort into it. Was this the case, or did she just not? Couldn't be bothered?
I think that she was very busy at the beginning when we were children. But then in 1959, when I was 16, more or less 16, and my brothers were younger than me, we were living in Lebanon. There was a revolution in Lebanon, and we had to leave. So my parents sent the children back to Chile. And my mother followed my stepfather in whatever new assignments he had.
Mm-hmm.
And so she wasn't raising kids at that time. Okay. She was the wife of a diplomat. She had an easy life. She had help at home.
Yeah.
And then later, for 8 years, she lived in Geneva, in the center of Europe. And she collected slides from all the major art in the world. She studied art, but she never took classes. She didn't invest the time and the energy. And so she regretted it tremendously in her old age. Mm-hmm. And when I say that she was lazy, it's because she was brought up to be pampered, to be supported, to be served, to be protected. And she couldn't do it for herself. So that has a price that you have to pay. And the price is that you do what your husband or your father wants you to do.
Yeah.
And you are angry and you are submissive, but you are angry. And that was my mother's case. And so how would that anger manifest? She would get sick. And so she never had cancer. She never had a major ailment. She never was really, really ill, but she was all the time sick. She had a headache. She had a stomach problem. She had a cold. She had this. She had that, because that was a way of expressing her anger.
Mm-hmm. And getting attention, I guess, or support. Yes. Yeah.
Or justifying the fact that she wouldn't do something. For example, I can't take a class because I don't know if I will be able to attend the class, because what if Ramon, her husband, has to have a dinner at home and I have to take care of the dinner, and I'm sick and I have a headache and I have migraine. So there was, you see.
Isabel, you know what I hear here in between the lines? I hear self-doubt. I hear that she did not have the confidence
exactly
to try this, because if you don't try, you can't fail.
Yeah, exactly. And she was so wonderful. I mean, she was funny, ironic, intelligent, educated, cultivated. It was a pleasure to talk with my mother, to the point that my friends who were a generation younger, when I was not even living in Chile, would visit her just to hear her talk. She was wonderful, but didn't trust herself. She didn't even
trust
know
herself,
how.
Yeah.
No, she didn't even know how beautiful she was.
Huh. So she returned to Chile at one point. Did she? What happened with her at her older age? What did her older age and her end look like?
To me, not good.
Okay.
Because I'm living now an old age, and I know what a good old age looks like. And my mother and my stepfather had a passionate love affair that lasted almost 70 years, 65 years. And yet they didn't get along. So they didn't get along. So there was, at the end of their life, when they were old, they lived in a beautiful apartment in Santiago. They had a lot of help. They didn't have to. If my mother wanted a glass of water, she wouldn't get up to get it. She would ring a bell and somebody would bring the water. So they were, I would say, stuck in that apartment with no, I don't know. I told my mother many times when she was much younger, not when she was old, why don't you separate? If you don't get along, if you have these terrible fights, why don't you separate? But my mother couldn't envision a life in which she had to take care of herself.
Now I understand. So two of them stuck in the apartment with a lot of frustration and passion that turned from young, probably sexual passion turned into anger. Yeah. Oh, not fun. Let's talk a little bit about the letters, the famous letters.
Well, my mother she wrote beautifully.
Yeah.
And she and I established this habit of writing to each other every day when I was 16 and she was living in Turkey. And of course, the mail would take like a month or two for a letter to be delivered from Turkey to Chile. But it didn't matter because it was not a conversation. It was an ongoing monologue. And so I wrote to her and waited anxiously for her letter, that sometimes I wouldn't get a letter in 2 weeks, and then 7 letters would come together.
Yeah.
But when I came to the United States to live with Willie in 1987, I started collecting the letters. The letters she sent me, and copy of my letters for her. No, not copy. She would return the letters to me at the end of the year, and I would put them together in a box. So I have them by year and in chronological order. But then when the internet was invented and we could finally have a dialogue, then I started collecting copies of my emails so that I would have a continuity in this conversation. And so recently, or a couple of years ago, my son decided to digitize the letters because many of them are already so old that the paper is turning yellow and breaks. And he calculated that we have more or less, between her letters and my letters, like 24,000 letters.
That is incredible.
No. Can you imagine?
I cannot imagine. I cannot imagine.
If you would see the collection of boxes in the garage.
That is incredible. And I heard somewhere or read somewhere in one of your interviews that these letters are what brought you close or closer to her. And I loved you saying, because this is what I experienced with my mother, because when the war broke out in Croatia, I moved to Vienna to be with my father and my mother stayed back. I was 17. And I often say that we had such an incredible relationship for the rest of our lives because we were not together daily. And I heard you say that about your mother. So I found that fascinating.
Well, when we were together, all the differences, all the differences were more obvious. Obvious. I would get irritated to see my mother complaining all the time. And she would get irritated because I'm so assertive and so sure of myself and I speak loud, and that would irritate her. She would feel that I was too bossy, and I would feel that she was too dependent. And that would get in the way often. Also, my stepfather was always present. That created an unbalanced situation. But in the letters, none of that is visible. In the letters, it's just the love and the things we shared, stories, recipes, gossip, memories, thoughts, fears, all those things that make us human, we could share without the inconvenience of all the domestic stuff.
And all the things that matter, because as you said, wherever I heard you talk about this, there was no pettiness. There's no space for pettiness when you're writing a letter, which if you're together day by day, of course you get agitated. Somebody, I don't know, didn't make tea correctly or didn't close the fridge or these petty little silly things. And letters wouldn't allow for this. Isabel, should we jump into the lessons? And you already shared one of your lessons, which I wrote down. One of the lessons you learned from her. Whatever you want to achieve, you have to put effort in.
Yeah, many things that my mother did, the lesson came from the opposition to that. The fact that my mother could not support herself made me want to support myself from such an early age that if my mother says that when I was 7 or 8, they would ask me, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I would say, support myself. Like, yeah, as a kid,
I love that.
I would say, support myself. It was so important to me because I realized that the men in the family that lived in the same house, my uncles and my bachelor uncles and my grandfather, they worked and they had a car and they had the keys of the house and they had money and they didn't have to tell anybody where they were or at what time they were coming back. They had a life out there. And my mother was stuck. So I didn't want that. I wanted to be like my grandfather. And the first most important lesson, the most important lesson was the love lesson. That she loved me unconditionally. I was her favorite. And my brothers to this day acknowledge that that is true. I was her friend. I was her companion, her confidant. I was a little girl and she was already telling me about how she was in love with this man, that she couldn't get together with him. I knew all that when I was a child. So I knew my mother would walk naked in front of me. I knew about all her bodily functions, about her sex life, about money, about her frustrations. All that she shared with me. So in that sharing, I think that the biggest lesson was that she taught me how to be a mother. Because in the love, unconditional love that she gave me, she taught me from very early age how I would raise my kids with that unconditional trust and love.
Isabel, I get this unconditional love often now. I've already done 200 interviews with women from all over the world. Let me ask you this, because I know you answered it in one of your interviews. Why does that matter? What did this unconditional love give you?
It gives you a platform for life. You know that you can take all the risks that you want and you will fall and stumble and be broken and you always can come back to your mother. So the mother will always be there. And that is extraordinary.
Yes.
I remember, and this is very visual. I fell in love. I was married, living in Venezuela, in exile, and I fell in love with another man. And I abandoned my children and my husband and followed this guy to Spain. And it was a disaster, as you may imagine. My soul was back in Venezuela with my kids, of course. My mother was living in Venezuela in the same building, 2 floors up. And after a month with this guy, I returned to Venezuela. Well, you can imagine my state. I was broken in many ways, heartbroken. And I returned, and my husband was waiting for me at the airport. It was 5 o'clock in the morning when the airplane came. And my husband was waiting for me And in the car, he said, everything that has happened is my fault. You told me and I didn't believe you. So we are going to try to have a new life. We will start again, whatever, no? And then we came home, and instead of going to see my kids, because it was 5 o'clock in the morning, he said, your mother is waiting for you. So I went up to see my mother. My mother was still in bed. And she hugged me. I had been away for a month, lost, completely lost. And she hugged me and she said, now your head up. No one will ever say anything to you if you have your head up and you challenge them. So she was there for me in ways that were incredible, because she taught me, you made a terrible mistake. Keep going now. No, don't let this mistake define your life or determine your life. Fight. As she had, in a way, fought to be with my stepfather. At the time when with no divorce, with all these children, with no money, she made it. So that is unconditional love for me. I had made a mistake that she hated what I had done, but it didn't matter. No judgment.
No judgment. I think this is so important for us as parents, and I felt that from my mother, and this is such a present. No judgment. Or maybe this is the same thing as unconditional, but just you cannot judge your children.
Them.
You're not. It's not your place to judge. You're not there to judge your children. Yeah, you have to support them on their way, and this is how they build resilience. Oh, beautiful! Thank you, Isabel. Do we have more?
More lessons?
More lessons?
Oh, I think she taught me in a practical way, refinement. Because she was the wife of a diplomat, I learned to live and organize my life with certain elegance and manners. And if you ask me in your old age, what works in a relationship, the relationship I have with my new husband, what works is a sense of humor, of course, kindness, and manners.
This is interesting. In a relationship?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Because manners means that you consider the other person. You don't aggravate the other person with pettiness, with rudeness, with aggression, with a loud voice, with screaming, with all the stuff we do. When we're in a relationship, we really don't care so much. We don't treat the other person as we would treat a good friend. We are raw in a relationship.
Yes.
But good manners help to soften intimacy and that raw thing that happens when you live with someone.
Yeah.
So my mother taught me a certain elegance and a certain refinement for life. And she gave me storytelling. She gave me the love of writing. The lesson that when you write something down, you make it happen in a certain way. You narrate life. For example, I can go through my day, and at the end of the day, I have to write to my mother. So I notice what's going on during the day. And in the letter that I write to my mother, I choose the way I'm going to narrate that day. And it can be a very mean story, it can be an angry story, or it can be a story that has some redemption, a story that has some meaning. And in trying to find meaning for my mother, I find meaning for myself. So she told me that in writing your own life, and she wrote not only to me, she wrote these diaries. Every year she had a new diary.
Have you read them?
Yes, of course.
Oh, okay.
So narrating, putting in writing, it can be in writing or not, but being aware of your life and what is the story you want to tell the world? What is the story I want to tell my mother?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I have noticed in our correspondence that I told my mother everything except when I was sick.
Oh.
I never shared with her my pains and aches. And
Why is that so, Isabel? Why did you not want to share that with her?
I don't share it with anybody,
Mm-hmm.
but because I grew up listening to her ailments. So my son and I have this thing that we don't talk about whatever is in our bodily functions in any
Okay.
way. We don't. But
Do you share it with your husband?
no.
Who do you share your? Do you talk to anybody
Nobody.
about your? Nobody. So you are
My
there for
doctor.
yourself. Okay, great. Okay.
Let's say that I have a back pain.
Yeah.
Okay, it's my back pain. So I will do the exercises I need to do. I will take a Valium or whatever, or a ibuprofen or whatever,
Yeah.
and maybe go to bed early. But I'm not going to tell my husband, my back is, because he does tell me all the time. All the time he
Oh,
has the
he
problem.
does.
All the time.
So you can't.
And I've told him, I don't want to hear about your digestion. I don't want to hear about it. But so I don't tell him. If I have an appointment with the doctor, I discreetly go to the doctor. Now, I suppose that if I have something major,
Yes. Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
tell him. But why bother him with little things? And you know what? This helps me not to give so much importance to things that are natural as you age. As
Yeah.
you age, my mother used to say, after 70, if you wake up and nothing hurts, you are dead.
That's how it is. Yeah.
Something hurts. Well, okay, it hurts. Get over with it. Keep going, keep going.
Isabel, are there any more lessons you would like to mention, or should I ask you the tricky question at the end of what is something very important that you had to learn by yourself?
As I told you before, by opposing, by trying to have a life different from the life of my mother, I learned by myself to take care of myself. And
Exactly. Yeah.
I have worked all my life since I was 17. I have worked sometimes 2 or 3 jobs. I have supported myself and my children. I have been able to divorce with no problem because I had my income. I was not dependent. I have been able to pay for the education of many other children, of support my parents, and many other people. Create a foundation because of I work. So work has been very important for me.
Yeah.
Really important.
Yeah.
And that's something that my mother didn't teach me. I had to learn by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I read somewhere, I have a quote, but I will not look for the quote right now. I read somewhere how you said, and it reminded me so much of my own mother, who was a very, very successful and celebrated and awarded both movie actress back then in Yugoslavia, movie star, but also a very celebrated, again, awarded artist. She was a painter. She had 2 parallel careers. She was
Wonderful.
beautiful and gorgeous. Why am I saying this? Because I read somewhere how you said all these books that I've written are not the most important thing that I've created in my life. It's the love and the relationships that I have. I'm now quoting. I could look for the literal quote, and that touched me very, very deeply because that's what I learned from my mom in 2 ways. One was that in all her interviews, she would always say, the most amazing things I've ever created in my life was my daughter. And
You're
I
an
was,
only daughter?
I am an only daughter, and I was young and I wasn't a mother yet. And I thought, oh, that's impossible. Look at your movies and look at your art. Now that I am a mother, now I understand.
Yeah.
But also, the second thing is when she passed away 10 years ago, and this was a national thing and national news and a big, big, big thing. And I've learned that the way people spoke about her when she passed away, people were saying, I will miss her smile. I will miss the way she makes me feel. I will miss her walking into the room or bumping into her on the street and having coffee with her and the way she made me feel then. Nobody said I will miss her next movie or her
Of
next
course.
painting. And this was such a big life lesson for me personally, that what we leave behind actually are, as you said, these relationships and this love that we shared shared.
Absolutely. I have the photographs of my mother and my daughter here, right here. If you want to, here they are. That's my mom.
Oh my God, she's so beautiful. How old was she when this was taken?
85.
She is really a beautiful woman.
And this was Paula.
Oh, Paula is beautiful. I know this photograph from the internet, don't I? From the foundation.
So I have them here, and I have them on the sink in the bathroom where I brush my teeth. So I'm talking to them all the time. They're all the time with me. Why? Not for anything that they achieved, but the love they gave me.
Yes.
And the love I gave them. The other thing that I have learned is that the most important thing in your life is the love you give, not the love you receive. That you can forget. But the love you give, that is what stays with you forever.
Yeah. This is a beautiful, beautiful point for us to finish our interview. We could talk for much, much longer, but Isabel,
thank you.
Thank you for sharing your mom's wisdom and your wisdom and Paula's wisdom and everything. Paula, sorry, I keep saying Paula. I know she's Paula. Everything we could learn from them.
Yes, I learned a lot from both. I learned to love.
How to love. Yeah. How to be independent and how to love.
Yes. And they are not contradictory. Huh? You can be sentimental, and you can love, and you can be passionate and do crazy things for love, and still be independent. Yes.
I have learned that from my mama, who was fiercely independent.
Anna, I would love to see a picture of your mother. Do you have a picture there?
I do. Wait, I will. This is the one that I have here. This is with my father and my mother and me. I don't know if you can see it. It's reflecting.
Oh, yeah, she was lovely. And that's you.
That's me.
Yeah. And what happened to your father?
My father is still alive. He lives in Vienna still, and he is 81 and currently suffering from the heat wave in Vienna. They have 40 degrees Celsius, and he's a stubborn old man. I told him, I will pay you a hotel room. He doesn't have air conditioning at home. I said, I'll pay you a hotel room, go into air conditioning. And he said, but I have all my things at home. What will I do for 2 days without my things? This is my father.
How old was your mother when she died?
She was 79. No, 69, I'm sorry.
What happened?
It was smoker's lung cancer that came very surprisingly. And between the diagnosis, when we found out why her neck is hurting, it started with neck pain. Between the diagnosis and her passing away, we had 6 weeks.
What?
Yes. And it was a huge shock and huge surprise. And
Lord.
It went extremely quickly, and yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And we had a very, very strong relationship. This is why I started Thank You, Mama.
Yeah.
Because when she passed away, I woke up one morning anxious that I was going to forget everything she told me. And then I thought, oh my God, if I forget everything she told me and taught me, I will lose her. This was a very strange feeling that if I forget these things, I will completely lose her. And I started writing down everything she taught me. And this started turning into her biography through her lessons, which I never finished.
Yeah.
But talking to my friends about this, about what I'm working on and her lessons, it was interesting to hear how women react and go like, oh my God, I never thought about this. It's so important. What have I learned from my mom? What are the life lessons? And women don't think about this, and they are very important. And this inspired me then to start the podcast. And as my mom was a person who was always teaching me to open my horizons and widen the topics. She was always for going wider and bigger. I decided it has to be women from all over the world, from Africa to South America to Asia to, it doesn't matter where and how, and if successful professionally or housewives or, so I have farmers from Africa or Nepal to amazing, accomplished women like you, sharing the lessons they learn from their mother.
And is there something that you have found in common?
Yes, exactly, Isabel, what you talk about. Independence. So many mothers, no matter where from, no matter which country, what background, what life story, independence is very important. Education. Mothers really try to push their daughters towards education and teach them the importance of education. What maybe by calling it unconditional love, I would put it in the big bucket of mothers being big supporters and like coaches and, cheerleaders for their daughters. This matters to daughters a lot. Exactly, to have this strong, non-judgmental support behind them so they can go and take risks and dare to achieve things and go do things. Many women, many women, which surprised me because I was not raised in a family of faith, talk about faith and how important, how they learn faith from their mother. And they talk about how it helps them in life to believe that there is a bigger plan out there for them, that there is another level on which things are happening and on which they're being supported. That is something I still have to understand for my book, because this beautiful podcast I'm planning to turn into a book of lessons of mothers all around the world. Because again, I wasn't raised with faith. So that's interesting. I think these are the most important topics. And then when I ask women what they wish their mothers had taught them, it's very interesting. They talk about money. My mother never taught me, finances, investment, money, saving. I wish my mother taught me financial literacy. They talk about sexuality. I wish my mother told me about my body and sexuality. As one of my guests said, so I didn't have to go through trial and error. I thought it was really funny. I love that.
Yeah.
Your sexuality is not where you want to go through trial and error. Money, sexuality.
It's interesting because my mother did not teach me about money because she didn't know anything about money.
Exactly. That's what women say. Yeah.
And she didn't teach me. She did teach me about sexuality by observing her.
Yes.
And I remember that when I was passionate with that man that I fell in love with, my mother tried to warn me. And I said, you have done the same thing. I said, you have done the same thing. So why she was right, of course. But what else? What else do the women want to be, they miss from them?
They miss, oh my God, the most important thing. What they miss is learning to take care of themselves, to take a break, to take care of themselves, to allow themselves a break, to understand that. And this has become a big topic for this podcast, and will become a big topic for the book, I think, is taking care of others, which I'm learning now through these conversations, is obviously something both that comes from inside of us. We women are caretakers, but is also learned from the society. The society expects women to be caretakers and teaches them to be caretakers. But that throughout the history has come together with self-sacrifice. Mothers who sacrifice everything for the family and don't take care of themselves at all. And this has become a very, very important part of our conversations, and will be an important part of the book, is can we be givers? Can we be caretakers and supporters without sacrificing ourselves? And I think this will be a very big lesson for the next generation, to learn to balance this two, to understand that you can do both. You don't need to not take care of others, you can do both. And this, I think it's a balancing act that women still have to figure out.
Yeah, well, if the mothers didn't take care of themselves, how can they teach you?
Exactly.
It's so hard. Sometimes I would get angry at my mother for stuff that then I would think, she was born in 1920. What can I expect? It's another generation. My mother, it took her years to understand that I was a feminist, because my mother would say, look, you can do anything you want, but do it discreetly. Don't make any noise.
Don't make a fuss.
Don't make a fuss. And I said, Mother, how can you make a revolution without noise?
Exactly.
How can you have to scream to get your stuff.
Yeah.
That would shock her.
Yeah.
So how could she teach me to be assertive if she was not? How could she teach me? Actually, she took very good care of herself, but I didn't learn that. I didn't.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. Well, now I'm doing it more. But you know what? I'm the kind of person, I can't get a massage. I can't go to a spa.
My mom was like this.
I can't do any of that. It just
Isabel,
boring.
my mom was like
so
this.
Boring.
No, she was always so proud. She would give all these interviews and be so glamorous and beautiful. And she would always talk about how she colors her own hair, gives herself a haircut, paints her nails. She said, I've never in my life been to a beauty salon or something. I don't have anything done with my face. She never went to cosmetic, nothing. And she was so proud of it. I paid her, I shoved her into massage once, and she came
hated
back.
it.
No, she loved it. She said she started crying. It obviously released so much emotions, She loved it, never went back.
Never went back.
No, loved it, never went back. She, towards, when she got older, she started exercising, do little exercises, her own invention at home every morning, because her back would hurt too much if she didn't. But she would never go to some kind of fitness thing. And she was very proud of that. And in a way, I admired her for that. But she took care of herself in other ways, I think. She really appreciated, and this is one of the biggest lessons she had taught me, and I want to teach my son. She took time to appreciate little things in life. She appreciated, I would call her and say, how are you? She's like, I'm great. I'm ironing. I listen to birds chirping outside. There are squirrels jumping around. The sunset is gorgeous. She would notice. I think this was her way of taking care of herself, is experience the beauty of the world and in these mundane, everyday moments very strongly.
Well, Anna, it's been a pleasure. And I wish you the best luck with that book. That will be so important. Such an important book.
Yes.
But when are you going to write it? You already have a lot of information.
I have.
It's time to do it.
Thank you so much, because you know what? I've been planning to do it for 2 years now. I think I'm suffering from, what is it called? Imposter syndrome. I have such a reverence towards this amazing material that I have been given by these 200 women and their mothers all over the world. I'm fighting a little bit with the feeling of, how do I deserve to, how do I
Anna,
deserve to be the person to write this book? Can
Anna,
I do this?
you are making me angry. Yeah, really, really. I mean, you have, first of all, it was your idea to do this podcast. It was your idea to do it this way, to do it with all these women all over the world. It's your idea. And now that you have been given all this material, you cannot leave it in a drawer. Now you have to elaborate it. So take a break. Take a break, because you won't be able to do it while you are doing the podcasts.
Thank you for saying that.
You have to stop and give yourself a break and say, okay, I'm going to dedicate a year or two just to write the book. And then you pour into the book everything you want. Don't worry about the structure. Don't worry about anything. All the rest, all that can be done later. The editing, the correcting,
Yes.
the structure, all can be done later. But first, you have to really loosen up. Loosen up and you have had such a good time interviewing these women. Have a good time writing. Don't take it too seriously. You are not going to write.
Thank you.
Oh no, this is going to be a wonderful book. So don't worry.
Thank you, Isabel, so much. And I hear you say, now you made me feel responsible. Now I feel responsible towards these 200 women to put this in a book. Now you turned my feeling towards it in a completely different.
Yeah, you have the responsibility, but the most important thing, the joy of life.
Joy.
The joy. I mean, this book has to reflect joy. The joy of being a mother, the joy of being a daughter, the joy of the love shared, of the lives shared.
Of life. Yeah. So I got a little private writing lesson from the queen of creative writing.
I always say, you can always edit a bad page, but you cannot edit a blank page.
Yeah.
So get started.
Thank you so much, Isabel.
Take care,
Thank you again for being my guest and for sharing so much. If you enjoy Thank You Mama and want to help it grow, please take the 2 seconds to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps. If you'd like to get in touch, you can send me a mail at info@thankyouMama.net. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter under Anna Teider, that's Tajder. This was Thank You Mama. Come back next week, subscribe, and tell your friends.